Hey Copper Nerds, I pulled out some of my favorite 1794s to show you. We have a Sheldon 69 here at the bottom, which is a head of 1795. We have a Sheldon 63, Fallen 4 here in the middle. That is a head of 1794. And then up top, we have every single collectible head of 93. I've finally secured them all, so let's talk about them. Let's get into it. So these really are some beautiful coins. I pulled out the heads of 94 and 5 just to show you a little bit about the difference between the three major head styles. There's some minor head styles as well. But big differences are the heads of 93 have a very distinct lower lock, a little bit of a thinner, this way, head width, and, you know, sort of a softer, more feminine feel to the depiction of liberty. The heads of 94 are, you know, a little more blocky, a little more finely intricate details on the hair and whatnot. Not quite as soft on the details. Heavier details, let's say that. And the head of 95 is a big old wide head. It is a very noticeable departure from the heads of 94. The heads of 93 and 4, not a major transition, but 94 to 95, pretty significant. You'll also note the heads of 95 have a very tight lower curl. And that applies to all of them except for the last variety of 1794, the Sheldon 72, which is called the exact head of 1795. And that one is a little different in that there is no curl. It's just kind of a little wave. Anyway, if I know me, I will have inserted a couple of photos to show those things that I was just talking about in some better detail. All right, let's talk a little about some of these coins because this video really is just a show and tell. First, before we get to my heads of 93, the Sheldon 69, looking at my notes here, it is probably my favorite of the 1794s. In fact, it is my favorite 1794. I inherited this one from my uncle. He had it in his collection for many years, but tracing it back, when this was a freshly struck coin in the 1700s, it was taken to England. I don't know conclusively that it went along with the Lord St. Oswald coins, but I will note that I want to say 3 of the top 5 Sheldon 69s were Lord St. Oswald coins, and then this is the 5th finest. It's been chemically treated at some point and has a couple of minor wipes on it. It's not perfect, but it's, you know, obviously very nice. It's being tracked as a MS 60 sharpness with a net grade of a 50 for the problems that I noted. It was brought back from England during World War II by a guy named R.J. Donovan, who was in the Navy. He ended up working in corrections for a career, and there is a prison named after that guy. It was then in the Philip G. Strauss collection, which was a well-known collection that sold in 1959. It then went to Dorothy Nelson. That is a fairly big name, again, in 1794s and in numismatics. From her, it went to Herman Halpern. Herman Halpern, a huge name, of course. This was sold through the magnificent Herman Halpern sale, not his first sale, but his first line sale. That was sold in 1988 to my uncle George Parker, who was a prominent architect and who passed recently, and this coin ended up with me. So sometimes when I'm editing a video, I realize I left out something important and I want to show this off. We're looking at the Sheldon 69s in noise. As I noted, I said 3 of the top 5. The top 3 coins all came out of the Lord St. Oswald collection. Whenever that collection was procured in the US, it seems to me that S69s were probably very recently struck, since 3 went back to be part of that collection. My coin in noise was graded as a 60 net 40, which is absurd. But also, Mr. Noise did not have photos of this particular coin. You'll note that oftentimes in this book, you'll see where photos are not available and they want photos. So Noise judged the grade of my coin when these photos don't exist. These are stickers that I have added to my book, and I have these stickers available to anyone who has the Noise 1793 and 4 book. I made these stickers as supplements, and if you have this book, drop me an email at dzrice@gmail.com with your mailing address. I'll send you stickers, no problem. But again, you'll note he's got this listed as a 40 and tied for 8th and 9th place, which is nuts. It's not a 40. Everyone in EAC agrees that it's a 60 net 50 is what it's at in the registry. And then in the previous auction catalogs, it was listed as high as an MS 63. I think that's too high of a grade for what this coin is, because it has, again, been dipped and has a couple minor wipes on it. But if you were to just assume that it was graded with what EAC consensus is at a 50, it should be in 5th place, right? It should be in this position in between these two. So when I say mine is 5th, that is where it would sit here between these two. And again, I suspect it was taken to England along with these beauties, which were appropriately cared for as part of the Lord St. Oswald collection. Whereas mine, I think maybe, ended up being with an attaché or someone who was along for that trip and kept it in England until it got picked up by Donovan during World War II. So that's our head of 95 example. The head of 94 is a Sheldon 63. That one is graded as a VF30, which I think's a little harsh, but we'll go with it. It was in the March Wells collection, then with Trina Husak, who would be Walt Husak's daughter, then James Neiswinter, who was very well known for being a 1793 collector. It was Mr. Neiswinter who discovered that the reverse on the Fallen 4 is the same die that was used on several of the 1793 beaded border Liberty Cap large cents. And then this die was heavily reworked with dentals cut in and then redeployed as the reverse die on the Fallen 4 variety. This was Jim's example from his collection when he sold his complete set of 1793s. It's an honor to have this one. All right, I'm gonna put those away real quick, and then we'll talk about the rest of them. Given how nice these two are and how easily they could be impaired, I do not handle them often and keep them in their capsules. They're just fantastic specimens. All right, starting from the beginning. The very first variety of 1794 large scent is the Sheldon 17A, which means it has the edge of 93, and there is a leaf, which you probably won't see real well, but the leaf curves down on the edge of 93. So this is, again, a 17A. It is a rarity 5- coin. There is a 17B with the 1794 edge device. It is exceedingly rare. It is considered a non-collectible variety, so I don't have one, and there's maybe only a couple out there. There's not many. This is a lovely example. It is well up in the condition census. It's a fairly new discovery. I think it ranks in the top 10, and it's really probably somewhere in that like 6th to 8th. What you're seeing on the surface there is not damage. The best that I can tell, it is some planchet issues. The 17s were notorious for bad planchets, and this one is no exception. It is an awful planchet, but a very well-struck coin and very high relief. These are kind of weak on the rim and dentillation, but well struck up, and again, very hard to find in high grade. This one was discovered by Dan Trollin, who's a well-known 1794 collector who sold his complete set of 1794s when Jim Neiswinter sold his complete set of 1793s, and they actually shared a catalog, which is cool. I got that one directly from Dan. He found it at a Nevada token dealer. So this is a neat new discovery, 17A, way up again in the condition census. Super excited to have this one of my favorite coins. Next up is the Sheldon 18A. You're gonna note that all of these, 18A, B, 19A, B, all have the same obverse die. This particular 18A is condition census as well. In fact, I'm going to show it to you in the noise book, which I use heavily in my deep dive videos. And very often do I flip through this book and land on the page that I've clearly opened many times to look at my own 18A. I just mentioned that 17B is very rare. There's only 2 known. Okay. 18A tied for condition census 1314, which I know now there was one new discovery that's well up in this census, so it's actually tied 1415. Right there in the middle, I mean, unmistakably the same coin, right? It just is. The colors in the noise books are a little bright and orangey. I assure you that this coin has not changed at all since I have gotten it, and I know that in part because it is waxed, and you're going to find that many of my heads of 93 are waxed, but this one is waxed. The reverse is almost completely slick. There's just enough detail remaining that you can make out some of those details, but one big difference between an 18 and a 19 is that the 19, 20, and 21 reverse is very deeply dished. And even in low grade, you're going to see evidence of that high rim and dentillation. Whereas the 18s, even in comparable grade, slick. Those two are pretty similar. The reverse on the 18 is slick. But we have enough detail in the 18A to make it out. There's a little speck of something there. Okay. As far as the provenance on this one, discovered by Peter Boisvert, purchased at the King of Prussia show way back when. Then it went to David Palmer. This was Jack Wadlington's coin. He got that from Chris McCauley and Bob Grellman. No, it went through from Wadlington through McCauley and Grellman to Chuck Heck. Another very prominent name in 1794s. Again, sold his complete collection much like Trollin did. And Chuck Heck is the author of the Die States book for 1794s, which again, I reference in all of those deep dive videos. Just a magnificent provenance on this one. Again, a coin I'm very proud to own. My 18B. This is, it's an okay coin. It's not a bad coin. It is from the G.S. Howard collection and then the Old Virginia collection, which is Scott Moore. I bought it through Tom Deck, and I think it was my first or second head of 93. And, you know, it's a nice enough little coin. It's certainly got black surfaces, but with heads of 93, you can't be all that choosy. Again, enough detail in the reverse to be diagnostic, and not a bad coin at all. Not one I'm trying to upgrade anytime soon. Next up, we have my, oops, I have these backwards. Look at that. Whoopsies. My Sheldon 19A. I love this coin. It is pretty gnarly in terms of its color, and it's light, and it has just spent a bunch of time in the ground. And luckily, when it came out of the ground, it was not conserved. If this would have been conserved, there would have been not a whole lot of detail remaining, because off with the green buildup comes all of those details. So this coin has been waxed to sort of encapsulate all of the growing verdigris and bronze disease, but I don't really have to explain it. The portrait on this particular example is outrageously nice, given the overall condition of the coin. Now, if we were to remove all of that green corrosion and stuff, we would end up with a coin that looks much like this Sheldon 62, where what remains underneath is very uneven. Yeah, the portrait's still there, but it never looks nice. Whereas here, with all of that built up junk remaining, we have a beautiful depiction of Liberty. One of the finest depictions of Liberty of any Sheldon 19A that exists. This is an R5 plus coin. There are very, very few nice ones out there. Let's take a look at that actually while we're at it. Since I have got Noise's book sitting here, look at that, always opening to that same page. 19A. So our top pop is a 40 net 30. Second is a 20. Third is a 20. By fourth, we're down in the 12 range. By six, we're a 10. And, you know, by the time we get down to the 18, I mean, they're looking pretty rough, and truly my very problematic green example, in my opinion, rates fairly high among those. It's not in the top 5, but I think it's somewhere in the bottom of the top 10. Certainly it's in the top 15. I love this coin. Provenance. Came through the EAC sale in 2019, ended up with Scott Moore in the Old Virginia collection. I have several of his coins. I got it through Tom Deck. And again, I love it. Sheldon 19B. You know, a pretty nice little coin as well. I got it from Nathan Markowitz. Nathan and I did some bartering. There was a chain cent involved, a Fujio cent involved. This was involved. Some money was involved, and in the end, this is my 19B. This one went through McLaughlin and Robinson through their fixed price list back in 1986. We don't know where it was at before that. After that, it went to Walter Reed, Fred Borkart, Nathan Markowitz, then myself. Again, a nice little provenance and a nice little coin. If I haven't shown the reverse off on both of these, I will now. But this is where we first get to see the droopy stems reverse, which I'm a big fan of. I think it's a cool reverse, and it's very recognizable, and it's used 3 times so we get to see it often. Those were the ones I've had for a little while now, and then I just recently picked up a 20. I got this one from Glenn McCauley. We don't know much about its pedigree other than that Glenn's father, Chris McCauley, has had it at least twice. So this has got strong Chris McCauley provenance. Then again, so do most rare or nice 1794s. Again, look at our portrait. It is very prominent. It's definitely got environmental damage, but look at her. Now, when I first got this, I put together a little video. Check out the date too. A very flat date. The others are curved or wide and flat. Wide and flat on this one. A little more compact and flat there. Anyway, when I got this one, I had suggested at first glance that I thought maybe it had been waxed. That was just from my eyes looking at it, but the more my eyes have looked at it, and after touching it a little bit and handling it, this is shellac for sure. It is a shellac or lacquer. It is not wax, but on a coin of this overall condition, again, I don't mind wax and lacquer on problem coins. I certainly don't want to have wax or lacquer on this or on this, but on most of these, it's okay. And it was commonly done back in the day. That's just what people did with their coins. Dr. Sheldon waxed like all of his coins. My Dr. Sheldon coin is an S55. I've got videos about it. You can check it out. It's been waxed. Incidentally, most of my waxed coins are in this grouping. I don't have but a couple others. I did wax my Sheldon 28 that came out of the ground. I did that on video just to kind of show everybody how you can apply wax. You can check that one out if you would like. But I certainly don't encourage the waxing of any coin that is not problematic. Let's just leave it at that. I didn't update my notes yet for this Sheldon 20, but again, just Glenn McCauley and Chris McCauley provenance. Heavy McCauley provenance on this one, and I absolutely love it. I was looking at some other very low-grade kind of slick options, and then when I got the opportunity to pick up this one, which had the date diagnostic clearly, the head shape is very clear. Really, it's got all the diagnostics you need, even on the reverse. I don't mind that damage all that much. There's our droopy stems. Just a lovely example. Okay, so that is my Head of 93 segment of my 1794 large set collection. I'm getting close to complete. This makes 49 of 58. I have got 3 more that are really, really tough to pick up. 1 more that's kind of in the middle. And then several fairly easy ones, honestly. I saved some easy ones for the end. I think it's a smart way to collect. Don't just get the easy ones first and save the misery for the end. Space it out. Get some, some nice high-grade common varieties, but also pick up the really hard to get examples. Like this is my first R6 coin, and I love it. Don't miss the opportunities. In fact, if you haven't listened to my interview with Dennis Loring, you should, because he's brilliant. He has a lot of wisdom. He's one of the founding EAC members, and his advice is when you get an opportunity to pick up like a R7, R8 coin or a high R6 coin, those opportunities don't come up often. Jump at them. And that's sort of been my philosophy too. If there's a coin that I need that I know is not going to come up often, I will rearrange my life to make sure I get my hands on it. That was the case with this one, the case with this one, the case with this one. The rest of them were actually in my budget. Again, noting that I inherited this one. But I had to rearrange some stuff and maybe sell some other investments to pick up this one, and that one. because the opportunity presented itself. I didn't want to miss it. And again, very excited to have my heads of 93 all lined up in front of you. Thanks for checking this one out. Feel free to hit me up in the comments, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.